I already did this joke once, but you know what? Today's a special occasion. I'm going to do it again. Here we go. I woke up today and I was like, what a wonderful day, because I seen the post on Instagram once again from Raid RPG, Raid Shadow Legends, talking about some champions that they are giving some much needed love to, some rebalancing. And it is one of the champions that I've actually been a fan of since she released. I did a video on her talking about how you don't even need to book her to get some utility out of her, and that is Lady of Aerith, and with these changes she is going to be even more insane. Let's go ahead, let's take a look here and talk about what is changing on her role and where you can actually use her. So, her A2, the old skill, is removing all debuffs from a target ally, healing that ally by 40%. This heal can be critical, so the thing to note here is this was 40% of their max HP. After the change, it's now going to be 50% of her max HP, which is going to be amazing because, for example, if you're healing a nuker that has a base HP of like, 14,000 or something like that, that's going to be significantly less impactful than healing her, who's probably going to be built out with anywhere from 60 to 120,000 HP. So getting a 50% heal off her HP is going to be insane. It can still be critical. If the target ally was not fully healed, places a block damage for 2 turns. That hasn't really changed. If the ally is fully healed, fills their turn meter by 50%. Here's where it gets interesting. If they're fully healed, fills their turn meter by 50%, and heals all allies equal to 50% of the surplus heal. So let's think about this essentially, right? If you don't really have, say for example your nuker or another tank champion, if they're not really damaged, she's still going to go ahead and try to heal them. If they're not fully healed, obviously the block damage comes in, but more importantly, if they are fully healed, she's going to fill their turn meter and she's going to heal everybody else for 50% of the surplus heal. So if that champion started off at full HP, she's essentially going to be healing everybody else for roughly 25% of her max HP. So she's essentially detonating a continuous heal and a half on her A2 as long as you combine it right. So this is pretty cool. A3 used to be an okay skill, but it definitely needed to be reworked a little bit. It's going to place a 25% strengthen buff and a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Now it's going to place a strengthen and a continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. But it's also going to decrease the cooldown of all ally skills except this champion by 1 turn. This is absolutely insane. Let's talk about why. So for example, in a Trunda composition inside Hydra, and this is the example that all of the content creators have talked about, and only like 2% of the player base is actually going to care about this example, but I have one for you free-to-play players as well. This is going to be insane. So you compare her with a Crixia or a Yumiko or a Renegade, if you need to have the skills of your Trunda cooled down a little bit quicker. If you have her paired with a Yumiko, this is actually going to work to help reset the Yumiko's skills, by the way. Now this is on a 3-turn cooldown, so she's going to decrease everybody's skills by 1 turn on a 3-turn cooldown while also placing strengthen and a heal on top of everything else in her kit, which is absolutely insane. What does that mean? This is also a perfect setup champion for free-to-play or low-spend players to run alongside a Seer if you have her. Why is that? Renegade decreases the cooldown of everybody's skills by 2 turns, and Seer's A3 Karma Burn is on a 4-turn cooldown. So before I had these insane champions like Taurus and Crixia and all those sorts, I would essentially run into an issue where we go in, we set up the buffs, we get the decreased defense and all that sort of stuff. Seer absolutely obliterates A1. Then we move to A2. Renegade pseudo resets and resets basically everybody but Seer. But then Seer has to go in with her A1 and then take another turn after that to actually get them nuked down on the second wave. That slowed things down significantly, and it also introduced a little bit of RNG. Now with this, what can happen is essentially your Seer comes in and absolutely blasts everybody. You move on to the wave 2, then you have your Renegade come in and do a reset skills, so it's going to decrease it by 2 turns. Not only that, then you're also going to be able to have Lady of Aerith come in, and she's going to bring you 2 buffs. So you're going to get a strengthen and a continuous heal that your Seer can rip off, and she's going to decrease it by that initial 1 turn that you need, which is absolutely fantastic. And if you think about other areas where people are using, for example, Painkeeper as a reset champion, she is essentially going to be able to do the Painkeeper role, except better. Now, I understand that this is a legendary champion, so you don't really want to have her replacing somebody at a rare capacity, but this champion already brought so much more utility in her kit, and she is getting significantly improved even on top of that. So I am very, very, very happy to actually see this change coming to the champion in game. I think Lady of Aerith is a fantastic champion. Let's go ahead and actually open her champion page in a separate one. They already give her a 4-star rating here. If it shows it, I want to talk about her base stats. It doesn't show it though, unfortunately, I don't think, but she has very good HP. And, oh, here it is right here, actually. I'm silly. So almost 21,000 base HP, almost 1,200 base defense, and 106 base speed. This champion is going to be fantastic to include anywhere. This champion is also one of the few fantastic support champions. Actually, probably not the few. There's a lot now. Part of the Sylvan Watchers. So if you have a Sylvan Watchers exclusive stage inside City of Centranos, or if you're trying to get through Faction Wars, this champion is going to help you significantly with both. She helped me a lot to get through Faction Wars and clear it and get these 3 stars from all the stages. Absolutely recommend this champion. Go check out my video as well talking about how to build her inside Refresh and Reflex gear. If you take those strategies, you can essentially be getting a proc of a cooldown on her A3 as well, which means you're going to reset skills on everybody else even faster. Absolutely fantastic to see these changes. We're going to kind of quickly talk about Noble here. Noble's main function inside the game so far has essentially been to empower Ninja, but that might be changing. A1, the new version, is going to attack one enemy, 40% chance of decrease in the duration of 2 random buffs on the target by 1 turn. If they're under a fear or true fear, decreases the duration of all the target's buffs by 1 turn instead. What changed exactly on the target if it has a 65? Okay, so it's just straight up decreasing it. That's alright. A2 attacks one enemy, will ignore 30% of the target's defense. Before attacking, if the target is under a fear or true fear, places an increased attack buff on this champion for 2 turns. After attacking, if the target is under a fear or true fear, decreases the cooldown of the Dismay skill, which is his A3, by 1 turn, then fills his champion's turn meter by 25%. Damage increased, by the way, so better multipliers on this. His Dismay skill, the A3, attacks all enemies. 75, I assume, books to 100% chance of stealing 50% of the target's turn meter. If this attack kills the target under a fear or true fear, decreases the cooldown of the Harbinger skill by 1 turn. So that's going to be his A2. So you can really see how he's going to start to cycle between those two, which is pretty fantastic. The Desolation passive, whenever an enemy's turn meter is reduced by any champion, has a 20% chance of placing a fear debuff on that enemy for 1 turn, which is pretty fantastic. They said in their little blurb about the champion that he's going to be very good for using with somebody like a Fortis, which is pretty exciting. I don't have this champion, but I do have Fortis, so if there's a viable combination champion that's released for Fortis, that would be pretty exciting. Let me know down below, what do you guys think about the buffs coming out for these particular champions? Do you have either of these champions, or are you going to can't talk apparently, are you going to be using these champions? If you have them and you don't use them currently, does this change your mind about it? Are you going to build them out? I do think that we are going to see Lady of Aerith being used in some Trunda teams if people don't have multiple Yumikos, and we're probably going to see her in some speed farming teams for somewhere like Shogun's Grove or possibly Iron Twins. So I'm very excited to see how the game develops after this. This definitely has the potential to shift the meta as well, I would say. She could even be a decent arena champion with all the buffs and the block damage and everything like that she's bringing. Thank you guys all so much for watching and the support on the channel. I'll see you in the next video.